Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial. My name is Mehdi from 3D Redbox channel, and today we have another model to be textured in Substance Painter. So let's do that. And this model comes from the Basemesh collection that you can find the link of that in the description. And please read the description because it's super important. You can find so many useful links over there. And to be quick, let's go and jump into the video itself. But before that, let me introduce you the course that we create for the Substance Painter to bring up your level from 0 to hero. Learning Substance Painter is easier than ever. Hey all Substance lovers, texture seekers, and awesome future artists. Welcome to Ultimate Course for learning Substance Painter from 0 to hero. Ready to learn how to texture with different projects? Substance Master released a brand new course for those who want to learn to texture with Substance Painter. In this course, we cover from preparing the model to rendering different projects, different challenges. If you want to level up your skill in texturing, come and check the Substance Master Ultimate course for learning Substance Painter. Okay, now as you can see, this is the original mesh from the collection, and this is the edit version that I create for this tutorial. So it's a little smoother, and we have extra detail on the surface for the metal section. So I export this, and for the UV, I just use the UDIMs to achieve better quality in the same density across the model with 4K texture. So let's export this model and import it to the painter and continue our way. Okay, now we are in Substance Painter and we import the model into the painter, and we have two different texture sets, one for backpack. As you can see, it has UDIM's UV tile layout, and for the metal we don't have any kind of a specific UV, and we are going to use a shader for the metal in the Marmoset toolbar. So we don't need to bake anything in the painter regarding to the metal section. We just go for the backpack and bake all the mesh maps that we need, and after that we import the smart material to the painter, create everything regarding to the mask, stitches, and etc., and make this bag fully textured. So let's go to the baking, and in here I just need to change the output size to the 4K, turn on the bends normal, and in here anti-aliasing should be on 64x, and that's it. And for avoiding any kind of time wasting on the baking for the metal section, I just need to turn off the checkbox here for the metal, and let's go and bake selected textures, and after that we come back and start the texturing phase. Okay, now we have the mesh maps and the baking phase is done, and now it's time to set up the environment, and after that import the smart material. Because we want to make this tutorial short, I provide you the smart material, and in this video we just talk about the design, how to define the perfect mask and control the mask and reach the final result. Okay, so let's go to the display setting. I just changed the environment map to something like Studio Tomoko, and let's go here in the camera setting and change the focal length to something like 50. That's it. And in here I just changed the tone mapping from linear to aces. That's great. So let's go back here and just change the environment exposure from 0 to 1. That's great. Okay, now let's go back to the shader setting and turn on the double-sided and alpha blend, and let's go to the texture set setting, and in the channel I just need to have the ambient occlusion and the opacity because we want to play with the AO and opacity at the same time. And now it's time to import the smart material. So for the first one, I'm going to import the cotton smart material directly from our product and the library. And if you like to have a great smart material library in Substance Painter to increase your speed quality and accuracy, you can go to the ArtiStation store from the link in the description and purchase or select any kind of smart material that you want or need. Okay, so this is the first one, and I create another one for the leather. It's kind of complex, so we are going to play with that, and another one which is a simple fabric for the strap section. That's great. So let's start the process. For the first one, I'm going to define the mask for the cotton section, the leather, and for the fabric. Because it's a time consuming part, I just skip this mask selection and we back here with the final result. Okay, now as you can see, I defined a mask for the leather section, and we can actually add this part too. That's great. And for the fabric one, I just use these areas for the fabrics. Okay, that's great. And we need to create a mask for this bottom part and use it here. So let's do that. I just create a paint layer and I'm going to call it mask holder bottom part. Add a black mask, add a fill layer, and let's go to the mask view. So I'm just increasing the value of the fill and change the UV projection to triplanar and change the shape crop to the shape. And now we can scale down this volume. Okay, that's great. And let's make it bigger from the sides. Just give that a rotation like this. Put it here. And I think we just divide the bottom part in a nice way. That's great. And for avoiding any kind of masking issue, I just go here, add a paint, change the blending mode to the subtract, and just select everything on the screen. And because we want just only have this fill layer on the body, we exclude the body part from the subtraction function here. Okay, now we have a very clean mask here to use. Okay, that's great. So let's add a filter like blur and make it a little nicer on the edge. And I add the anchor point here like this. Okay, that's great. So we have a mask that we can use in here with just adding a fill layer, choose anchor point in the grayscale input, and just select the mask holder bottom part. Okay, and change the blending mode from normal to linear dodge. And now as you can see, we have this separation here, and anytime that we want, we can come here, change the position, the scale, or anything else that we would like to have. Okay, that's great. I think this is a great separation and we are done here. So that's it for the masking part. I think we are done. Okay, now it's time to focus on the strap and add the holes. So for adding holes, because we don't have any kind of extra detail like high poly model or on the mesh itself, we don't have holes. We need to recreate the holes with the texture. So let's add a fill layer here, and I'm going to call it the holes, and just give the opacity and bring it to the 0. And for the base layer, we need to increase the opacity to 1 and give this data to that. So let's add a black mask to the holes, and as you can see, the whole model is coming back because this layer, it means we couldn't see anything if we have white data on the mask. Okay, so let's go to the paint, and I'm going to put a circle in here. That's great. So we have these holes, or we can make it a little bigger. And for this one, we don't need any kind of extra or custom alpha. We just use the default one and paint it here like this. Okay, that's great. And I'm going to add an anchor point here, the holes mask, and just create another fill layer and name it holes border. Okay, let's add a black mask again, add a fill, load the anchor point of the holes, duplicate the anchor point, change the blending mode of the duplicate to the subtract, and between these two fill layer, I just add a filter like blur. Okay, let's go to the mask preview. So we have this, and I can control the amount of the outer line with the blur. And let's go here, add a level, and just make this more white. Okay, that's great. So this is the area that I'm going to have the border of the holes. Okay, let's add a filter again with the blur, but with the lower intensity. That's great. Come back to the layer, just turn on the height, roughness, and the metallic. So the metallic should be on 1. The roughness should be around 0. This is the height. Okay, that's great. And I'm going to make the color a little darker. So let's go back to the mask, choose the level, and now we can control the mask, as you can see, to achieve the result that we want. Okay, I think we can reduce the amount of blur here. Okay, that's great. So let's just make it like this, maybe a little thinner, okay, or thicker. Yeah, I think that's enough. That's enough for this. Okay, now if I go back to the holes mask and just put another holes here, now I can have the holes here like this, okay? And I can make it more smaller. So you can control everything regarding to the holes like this. Okay, I think this size it's so much better. So let's add 3 holes for here. Okay, that's it. And I'm going to add all the holes on the strap and come back again. Okay, so now we have every holes that we want here on the strap sections. So as you can see, this is the result. And now it's time to add another kind of detail. I mean the stitches in the seam on the model, because with the stitches and the seam, we can increase the quality of our work. So for this purpose, I'm going to use the 2 default brush from the Substance Painter, the seam brush and the top stitching brush, which they are using the pass tool, which is a powerful and great tool adding these kind of details. So I'm going to show you how to use them in a proper way. And after that, again, we skip this repetitive part and go straight to the result. So for using these 2 brush, you need to add a paint layer here. Okay, so I'm going to rename it to stitches and let's choose top stitching. Okay, now we are using top stitching as a pass tool and we can draw a line on the surface, as you can see. And in the latest version of the Substance Painter, this tool received a great update and it's totally a new level. So by default, we have snap on surface, so much better than the previous one. And we can play with this tool very easy. Okay, so basically we just click on the surfaces and we create some little dots as a vertices, and between these vertices it's going to create a line for us and just project what we set here in the material. Okay, and I'm going to use this in 2 different ways. The first one is the paint layer without any mask or anything else. The second one is, for example, as you can see, we have some unwanted result on different surface, so we need to clean it up. For this purpose, we need to add a black mask and define the area that we want to have this detail on that. Okay, so I'm going to create different kind of paint layer and put the path on them to avoid any kind of unwanted result, and that's it. So very easy and very fast we can bring details on the surface. Let's go back to the pass tool. So when you select this pass tool, if you want to create a new line, you need to press escape or enter on your keyboard and just draw a new line. Okay, and if you don't want to see this line, you can just simply turn this off or on, or just use the Q on the keyboard. That's it. So I go here, choose this path, and I want to change it. You can do that. It's easy. And if you select some path, you can go here in the properties panel and just, play with the properties on the material to bring new detail or change the details in your desired way. So for example, here I just need to decrease the size of the stitching, something like this with this size, and it's okay. And I have a lot of path tool and I want to have the same result. So what can I do for that? I can come here, just copy that and just paste properties. So in this way, I have the same setting from this path that I selected before on the new path. That's it. So this is the easy way to add details like stitches and seams on the surface. And I'm going to add on the borders on every single piece that we have here. And it needs seams or stitch. Do not forget that you can come here anytime that you want and just, for example, change the material properties like different categories, play with the thickness, or even you can change the effect of the puckering and control the intensity. And that's it. So I'm going to pause the video and add all the details here on the surface, and we go for the modification on the smart material that we already assigned to the model. And now we are done with the stitches. So the first layer of the stitches is on the big shapes. As you can see, we have the stitches on this part on the bigger sections, and that's it. And we can go here in the layers, choose the base color, come here and just decrease the opacity to make the blending between the stitches and the surface so much better. And if you want to avoid any kind of normal intensity around these stitches, you can come here to the height and just decrease the value here so you can control the normal intensity at the end for this part. Okay, and for the second part, I just add stitches for the strap sections. And as you can see, we have these details here. Okay, again, I'm going to decrease the value here and just go back to the opacity and make it lower. And that's it. Okay, so we are done with the stitches, and it's nothing except too many pass layers and with the same setting that I told you before. Now I'm going to create another paint layer, and let's call it seam. Let's go here in the shelf, choose the seam and come back here. So now I'm going to add a seam effect, and that's too much easy because we need to follow the shape on the model, as you can see, just like this, and that's it. Okay, so now I'm going to select this path and just increase the size. Okay, now it's more logical wrinkles on the side, and I can go here, just change the seam type. For example, change it to the overlapping seam or flat seam or something like that, and I can play with the intensity of the seam like this, or we can flip the direction of that. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to add the seam on the edges and just come back and check it again like the stitches. Okay, now it's time to add the seam, and for the first layer I just add the seam on the body section, and as you can see, seam can bring more reality and the realistic effect on the surface, and it's very important that you control the seam with the mask. So this is the seam without the mask. As you can see, we have a lot of extra lines, but now we can see it's totally fine, and we can see the effect on the edges, and that's perfect. So the second seam is for the separation sections. For example, we have the leather on the bottom, but it's not defined on the model, so adding seam can bring more realistic feel on this kind of effect. Or for example, on the handles, if you attend, we can see the difference between the seam applied and without. Okay, that's great. So we are done with the details, and we can go for the next step. For the next step, I'm going to add the effect layer, which is increase the normal intensity in overall, add AO and sharpen effect. So let's put a paint layer and I'm going to call it effect. And after that, let's just add a filter and I'm going to recall the sharpen, but nothing happened yet because we are not telling Substance Painter, okay, we have a lot of data before the sharpen filter and I need this sharpen filter effect on those data. Okay, so for this purpose, we need to jump to the blending mode of effect paint layer that we create and change it to the pass through and right click on this blending mode and choose apply to all channels. So in this way, we have the sharpen effect on all layers. That's it. So this is without the sharpen and this is with sharpen, but the sharpen effect or sharpen intensity should be lower than 1. So I'm going to choose 0.5, which is a safe number. And after that, I'm going to add another filter. And for this filter, let's just add Mattifix HBAO and just keep it like affected on the AO and we can see the difference. So for better understanding, I'm going to the ambient occlusion channel and before this filter, we didn't have any kind of ambient occlusion data from the information that we create in the layers. We just receive the data from the mesh and the high poly bake and some layers in between, which include the AO information. But with this filter, we have all the information that we add to the surface. Okay, so it's more realistic and we are good to go. Okay, so the next one is height to normal, which help us to transfer all the information that we add inside the painter with height channel to the normal with correct normal intensity. And we have two methods to calculate that or using this filter, but I prefer to turn off use word units and just play with the normal intensity. And for this project, I think something like 1.5, it's enough. Okay, as you can see, we have more depth on the normal. Now we can control the AO here. Okay, that's perfect. So we have all the details that we want. We add all the things that we should. And now it's time to go back to the Smart Materials folder and just prepare that in a way that we want. Okay, so let's jump to Cotton Smart Material and adjust the layers in a way that we want. Okay, now let's go for the Cotton folder. Okay, we have a sharpen filter here too, so I'm going to remove that because we have the overall one, so that's enough for us. And I'm going to turn off every folder here. Okay, that's great. So let's turn on the base, and for the base I think everything is good except we need to come here into the HSL filter and control the lightness, for example, and the saturation. So yeah, I think this color is so much better for this project, and I'm not okay with this, you know, the direction of this pattern. So we can go here and check which layer just responsible for this, and I think this is the one. So we can change the projection type to triplanar, and as you can see, we have so much better effect on the surface. So we can avoid this blending section here because we couldn't see that and it's not too much noticeable. And we can increase the tiling to 4 and it's so much better. Okay, that's great. So let's just turn on other layers. That's great. And I think we can increase the tiling, this layer 2, and play with balance, you know, because we need more variation. So let's just opacity here. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to bring down the lightness again. Yeah, I think it's so much better to have this. That's great. And we have a damage folder, and this damage just brings some variation on the surface. I'm okay with that. So let's go to the third one, the surface detail, and I think it's good, so I'm going to keep that, but I think it's too much, so let's control that. Okay, yeah, we have the wrinkles in this folder, so we need to definitely control. Okay, first of all, let's go here and decrease the opacity of the mask of the damage. That's fine. And this is the bump number 1. So it's kind of great, but I think it's too much. And in the back, I'm going to this case. Let's just paint here and change the blending mode to subtract. Okay, so we have a cleaner back area. That's fine. Okay, yeah, perfect. And let's add the bump again. So it's okay. I just need to here and bring up tiling and make less visible. Okay, the fold number 1. Okay, we have this. The fold number 2. Okay, which create this fold here. Let's go and increase the blur intensity. Yeah, better. And I'm going to increase the tiling, for example 3, and let's just go to the height and decrease the amount of the opacity. Perfect. Okay, I think it's too much on the back, so maybe we can change it from 3 to 2. Yeah, I think it's good, and that's enough. So let's go for the edge folds. Yeah, we are good with the edge folds, so we are not going to touch anything. And let's go for the edge dirt. Maybe I go to the mask and just bring up the global balance to have more intensity. That's great. And after that, I just come back to the base color and bring down the opacity. But I need to have this greeny touch on the surface. Okay, so even I can go here at the filter and bring the blur. Okay, and just blur the mask so we have cleaner transition on the color. Okay, as you can see, that's it. Okay, let's go back to the dust. And for the dust, I think we are good. And for the clumps, oh, it's too much, and it's too much in the size and intensity at the same time. So let's bring up the tiling. Okay, decrease balance, bring this, decrease the balance, and bring this and decrease or increase the balance. Okay, and now we can play with the balance to see the result. I think yeah, that's fine. Let's go for the dirt. Okay, so for the dirt we have a strong layer, so maybe I just keep it like this because it feels like more washed fabric, so that's enough for me. And maybe I just add a gradient layer. So let's come back here, add fill layer, put back, change the blending mode to the soft light, and just add a black mask. Go here and add a generator, use the 3D linear, invert the mask, play with the balance to achieve the result that we want. Okay, so we are in a good position, so let's just play with the opacity, and I think dirt we can decrease them too. So this is the bottom gradient. That's great. So we have the cotton fabric ready to use, and I think we can go here in the same, and because we have height to normal, we can decrease some value on the height channel. Okay, yeah, like this. So it's so much better right now instead of this one. Okay, let's go for the 40, and this one can be 80, but we need to define a mask, and once again define which area we want to have this seam separate, and we need to add this to handle here. That's perfect. Okay, so for the cotton, that's enough. And let's go here, and as you can see, we have so many layers, so I'm going to turn all of them. And this is the base leather, so if you come here, you can choose which kind of color that you want to have. I go with the darker color, and let's just fill up all the layers. That's it. Okay, and in here I just go to the leather overlay, and I can choose where should I see this pattern. I think this border section, they are good. They can bring some variation on the surface. Okay, now as you can see, we just select in which area we want to have this overlay pattern. Okay, that's great. And I'm going to play with the pattern itself. It's just a simple marble pattern, so we can control with this. That's great. Okay, that's perfect. So you can just control this material with the color like this, or you can come here in the leather overlay and change the place that you want to see this kind of pattern on the leather. Okay, that's it, and I think we are done. Only thing that I would like to have at the end of this tutorial is maybe some text or logo on the surface can bring more interesting details on the surface. So let's create a fill layer, and I'm going to call it the logo. Okay, so we need to have color, height, roughness. Let's add a black mask, and I'm going to add a firefly logo and just come to the 2D view, change the UV wrap to none. And as you can see, we can fix the position of this logo here. Okay, that's great. And let's go back. So I'm going to make it darker. Just change the blending mode to soft light. And let's add a negative height value like negative 0.2 like this. For the roughness, I don't want to have some reflective area here. So that's enough. And for the soft light, I'm going to decrease the value here. Perfect. And let's add filter like blur, okay, but with smaller amount of the intensity. Okay, that's perfect, but we need to add some border effect here like for the holes. So I'm going to use the same logic, add anchor point here, add a fill layer, logo border, just add a black mask, add a fill layer, load the anchor point from the logo, okay, duplicate it, and the second one should be on subtract blending mode, and we can add a blur effect between these two, and we can control. Okay, I think that would be nice. So let's add height. I'm going to add positive height value. Okay, now we can see some edge effect in here. As you can see, this. Okay, that's perfect. The roughness, it could be more rougher. For the color, we can go for the white value and change the blending mode to the soft light, so we have a whiter value on background color. This, it's like a stretch effect on the leather. So I think we are done, and it's great, but we can add so many things here. For example, we can decrease the opacity of the blur, avoid this kind of smooth effect, and maybe add another filter like stop blur and control it with the intensity, change the blending mode to the max. Okay, so let's increase the intensity divider, and yeah, in the source parameter we can increase the source styling, decrease intensity to achieve the look that we. For even better result, we can add a filter, blur direction, and decrease the intensity and choose the angle. And as you can see, we have so many interesting details on this edge. So that's it, and we can go here, decrease the value, and we are done. So this is the result that we seek for this model, and I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. And if you have anything in your mind or any kind of request, share your words in the comment section. Be safe, be creative, bye.